Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. pANcada has made an interesting tweet implying that his time on the Sentinels bench might not be particularly long for this world, heavily indicating that he is not happy with the current situation on Sentinels and intends to get back to the top of professional VALORANT when the opportunity might arise. When and where could this potentially be? Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Plenty going on yesterday. Firstly, wanted to mention this. Here we see from the Bleed guys going from Singapore over to Korea for, the start, I guess, of the VCT season, right? Because out in Seoul, Korea, that's where things are going to kick off, and I'm guessing they've got a boot camp there, they've got something set up. We know that Bleed, they've got a fair bit of money going on there behind the scenes, right? So they can go get set up. I'm sure they've got something sorted. So yeah, here are the boys getting ready to go, and as I think Ye was in the reply to something or other in a second, as we'll see. So yeah, wishing them the best of luck. I mean, yeah, of course, making his debut for the team, it's pretty rare, really. Most teams in the world, within reason, we've seen them play something in the off-season. Ye, that's not been the case. It was meant to happen for Bleed, right? They went to play that tournament, but Ye couldn't make it, visa stuff, unwell, whatever. But yeah, look, Ye's most certainly still with the team. We don't really know how good these guys are right now, but time will only tell on that one. Will they be as good as maybe we expect G2 to be, for example, in the Americas side? That's definitely possible, but yeah, we'll see how Bleed get on. But also, we've got to talk about this. So, lots of changes yesterday made, again, to the state of the game and to the maps, much to the dismay, really, of many of the professional player base. Some players like this, some players and, well, coaches most certainly don't like this. But you guys remember, not that long ago, there was a major Breeze overhaul. The map wasn't playing in the way that they felt like it should, so they changed middle of the map especially. They changed a few things around towards the A-bomb site, and then they left, well, they closed this hallway. Now, when they closed this, it was kind of clear that it was potentially available for reopening, right? Like, the way that they shut this off made it clear that, well, we might open it again at some point. And now that's what they've decided to do. The open A hall section will return to Breeze as it was prior to patch 7.04. We felt that the closed area was too restrictive when paired with the previous changes. We just missed the recent launch, but you can expect the change in patch 8.01, which is happening in just a couple of days' time. So Breeze will now go back to looking like this, as opposed to how it's been for the last few months, which is like this. So very, well, not exactly confusing, but I would say the timing is confusing. They've just made the icebox changes, that's now coming into play, and the pros now have, well, not that much time really to grind that stuff out before the season starts in pretty much bang in the middle of February. They've still got near enough a month, but the idea that there's another map change, which is maybe not a substantial map change, but it's a relatively significant change here on the Breeze for sure. It's going to change the way the map plays quite substantially yet again, is happening not that long before the season begins. There's been some questions about whether this should or should not be the case. As Chet says, why? He would like to see some sort of explanation as to exactly why they've decided to make these changes, because they made the other changes before. And sure, they come out and say, well, we think that it's going to play better with this or with that. And it's interesting, right, the way this goes, because the pros never really get consulted on this type of stuff. The devs just make changes they think are good, and then the pros deal with them, and then the pros obviously give their feedback on whether it's good or bad, and then basically based on that, the devs will then make another change, and maybe that's good or bad. So it's interesting, though, that Breeze is kind of going back to very similar to how it was previously, despite the fact that there's been theoretically lots of map changes lately. None of them have really done that much. Of course, Lotus was very substantial, but apart from that, lots of maps are very similar, right? And as Ye says, I love worrying about A main, B main, tunnels, nest, mid doors, and now halls again, and, chamber TP to escape. So maybe there's some implication here that Ye is back on that chamber role. We'll see what role Ye really steps into next year, because there was some talk from Ye himself that possibly he was thinking about changing roles, running Initiator, running Sentinel or something, just to join Cloud9 or play for a different team. But that's, well, now he gets his preferred role on Bleed, but who knows? I mean, Ye definitely seems like he could be versatile, or is willing to be more versatile than we have seen previously. But yeah, Ye doesn't seem a massive fan of this, because to be fair, he's right. I mean, there's lots of things to think about anyway on the map. It's very open if you're trying to attack on the map, and now the idea that someone can sneak down the mid halls and shoot you in the back is, maybe not the best idea. But as even Zeken's father says, I thought it was pretty funny, how about we just delete this map and start over, right? Because I don't really like Breeze. It's never been one of my favorites, and I'm not sure this is, well, I'm not sure this makes it good again, necessarily. Even as Leaf says, though, this is the frustrating part I think many pro players have, that some of these maps are basically going back to how they were when they're released. Maybe that's not bad, but, let's say Counter-Strike, for example, when maps like Overpass came out, they had so many iterations over many years to become kind of like a perfect map. I've do find it interesting the way the developers work in Valorant, where, sure, some of these maps are pretty good, but I'm not sure that they've made the correct changes really over time. But the idea that they're kind of reverting to an old change doesn't really feel like it's a great sign for the skill of the developers in developing a good competitive map, because they're admitting a mistake in some way, or this is now a new mistake and the old one was not a mistake. So as Leaf says, Icebox, Breeze and Bind basically the same maps as they were when they were released. So is that okay, what's the point? Some also comes out to say, you know, get Haven back in the map pool, I don't want Breeze anymore, maybe saying he doesn't like this, like Breeze should be gone, Haven should come back in, and I'm sure they're making changes on Haven as well. But the funny thing is that we might expect some, you know, significant changes to Haven, but I don't expect that to happen because the map was, I think, pretty good as it was. I think if they're going to make any changes, they will make some small adjustments. And Icebox, I think we expected something rather substantial in terms of changes. That, of course, never happened at all. And as Chet says, is there any point of reworking the maps if you're just going to revert good changes and add a window to Icebox Tube? So yeah, Chet says he liked the fact that the halls were blocked off. They've now reverted that. And Icebox, pretty much all they've done is add that window to the tube. And apart from that, the map is pretty similar, right? Okay, the B site's a bit different, but in reality, it's a very similar map. So this is Chet's main point, really, on the timing of these changes. Now, you might argue that both ways, who really cares? And to be honest, I don't have much sympathy for the pro players. At the end of the day, they do get paid to play video games. They should, you know, be able to and have to adapt. I don't really think there's too many issues in that. But sure, the timing is maybe slightly more problematic than it could have been. In the Call of Duty world, which I usually come from, the pros are used to getting changes made days before events, you know, to the game itself. So it's not exactly unusual in the esports world, but, you know, in Valorant, you would hope at least, given the fact that a game was meant to be made kind of from the ground up, actually, as Chet even says in the replies here, as an esports focused product, that esports would take some degree of priority, and therefore the VCT as well. That does not always seem to be the case, as Chet says. Why are there so many changes right before the league is supposed to start, and not in the 4-month downtime where these seemingly meaningful changes would have had more time to be tested? Development cycle makes zero sense. Now, you know, it makes sense if you're looking at it from the angle of, you know, just the regular player base. They want to make changes, you know, let's say the holiday period ends and then at the start of the new year, the developers come back to work and then they make some of the changes. Makes sense in that regard. But sure, I get it from Chet's point of view that really, if you're going to make big map changes, and we haven't seen like crazy map changes apart from, as I say, Lotus, but there have been a few things going around, the ideal time to drop them would have been, you know, October, for example, right? And then the pros could have tested them for a few months, then they can either maybe revert some changes or like whatever you want to do. That would be probably the way to go. Whereas now, Breeze is in the map pool, but yet there's a big change being made right about now, like only a few weeks before the start of the season. The pros will have their thoughts on whether it's good or bad. Most say it's bad, but unlucky, you've got to deal with it, right? That's the cards that they have been dealt. And as I say, I don't have much sympathy for the players here and for the teams here, but I do think these are valid criticisms to some degree of the way that Riot has dealt with these updates. And, you know, you call it incompetence, call it what you like, but you know, the pros and especially Chet and LG don't seem so satisfied with it. However, the big story really that was going around today was this one. So pANcada tweeted this out. Some guy made a basically like a pANcada hype video. It's got like many men, 50 Cent in the background. You guys know, like probably the Jose Mourinho video where it's the many men thing, and it's the same type of thing here with pANcada. So now, first of all, this translation from Google is not exactly perfect. This kind of phrase here means something somewhat different to what Google seems to be translating it as. But the general feeling of this second part is kind of the same, that pANcada is, well, heavily implying, and of course this tweet got lots of traction, that he's trying to get back to the top. So this was put on the Reddit here just from Macario Pro, bit of a translation. He posted the phrase with this fan edit of the many men thing. We obviously discussed that. And, you know, Baba Ovo kind of translates to, as he puts in the title, went far without kissing anyone's arse, right? And I reached the top once again in the same way. So literally that translates like suck eggs, but it's basically an arse kiss translation from English. That's kind of what it means in Brazil, according to this guy, and I've got to kind of take his word for that. And I think that makes a fair bit of sense. So, you know, interesting tweet from pANcada, but of course the second part really, you know, I'll reach the top once again in the same way, take note, as in, you know, get ready for the comeback type thing. So we know it's been a bit of a whirlwind, right, for pANcada over the last couple of months. He was, you know, looked to be in the roster. All of a sudden that wasn't the case. Zelsis came in briefly as like a substitution change, then it actually turned out that he did rather well with Zelsis, and now he's there full time. Is Zelsis more talented from like like a pure individual raw aim skill perspective than pANcada? I don't think so. Is he currently a better fit for the team? I believe so. I mean, the way they've performed lately makes a lot of sense. Now, is that Sentinels team they have guaranteed to succeed with their current roster? No. You know, they played very well in the offseason, but of course, everyone's looking at them now. They've got some pressure on them. The other teams have been watching their VOD. There's other great teams as well, but I still feel like Sentinels should be favoured to qualify for Masters Madrid on the way they recently performed, and should be one of the best teams in the Americas, no questions asked. And of course, they know full well that bringing pANcada in has its share of risk, and they believe that it makes sense with Zeltis to continue. But pANcada, obviously, is not going to be happy as a world champion just sitting on the bench. There were rumours for some time, and I think for good reason, that when Leviathan were making changes, especially given Aspas and pANcada's kind of friendship that goes a little bit far back, we thought that maybe Nosra was gone, and it could be pANcada in. Now, for roles perspective, they'd have to change a few things around over there, but that was at least a realistic possibility. They got Com, of course, instead. So it's not like pANcada has a clear option to go anywhere. And does he want to leave Sentinels bench and go and play for, like, you know, MIBR or, you know, even like a Furia? Sure, Brazilian teams, but maybe not great Brazilian teams. I imagine that if pANcada wants to go anyway, he probably wants to go to Loud or Lev or, you know, some team that he believes can be a real contender. That certainly seems to be his intention. So maybe his plan is kind of in the same way that FNS and Som are kind of waiting it out for the time being and trying to get signed mid-season. Maybe he waits to see if Loud want to make a change, waits to see if Liv want to make a change, and then see if they want to sign him. Because sure, he's still on Sentinels bench, he's got the Sentinels clout boost, he gets to sit on the bench and get paid money, and maybe even if the Sentinels team struggles, get back into that starting team and prove what he's capable of, because he's a very capable player, but maybe hasn't been the perfect fit with their team for the last couple of years. So if everyone to Twitter your thoughts in the comment section below, what is pANcada cooking up right now? Is he, you know, does he have any plans? Because it seems like the way it stands, he is going to be on Sentinels bench to start the season, but I wouldn't be surprised if this means that he is definitely looking at other alternatives as the time progresses. Just before we close up the video, I wanted to mention this here, that NRG were playing against 100T. There was also, I believe, an NRG Sentinels scrim the other day, which is the one that I was really looking forward to, but I think I saw that it was only like 2-3 or something, so not so much to read into. This was interesting though, that NRG, who have, you know, struggled somewhat in practice so far compared to how good they might potentially be on paper, down 10-4 to 100T. So maybe this new 100T team is cooking up something special. It only scrims, it only means so much. And look, the reality is that losing practice can be a good thing because then you learn. But of course, you don't want to get absolutely smacked around because that's never good for anybody. But very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.